And all of a sudden, a guy jumps out of the bedroom. He's 3 feet away from us, 3 feet. And all we see is muzzle flash. And I see my partner, we're shoulder to shoulder, and he gets hit. And I see him going down. He's firing as he's going down. And the guy is firing, and I start firing at the muzzle flash.
The Voice of Gotham with Pat Brosnan.
Okay, I've got to start with the incredible coincidence of how we actually met. You know, it still feels like destiny to me. I was about 20 years old. I was bartending in a very rough South Bronx spot called the Jolly Tinker. 4 guys came in to pull an armed robbery. We fought back with golf clubs and were able to disarm them. I got shot at 4 times during the attempted robbery. You, Ralph, came in very shortly after as the case detective, carved the bullets out of the ceiling, and that was the beginning of our friendship.
I knew when I met you that you were going to be something special. I don't know, I just had this feeling. Well, first off, right away, I knew you had balls. Fight back. You know, with guys with guns, most guys would fight back, wouldn't even fight back if they had a gun or a bat.
That night at the Jolly Tinker didn't just end an armed robbery. It started a friendship that would run parallel to some of the most violent years the South Bronx had ever seen. But before Pat ever pinned on a badge, Ralph Friedman was already becoming a legend on those same streets.
Well, I never thought of becoming a cop at all. You know, it was never even on my mind. I had no family, no friends that were on the job. I always held police in high regard, and I had a few run-ins, you know, minor stuff, JD cards, you know, fighting on the street, but never thought of it. I didn't want to go to college, as yourself. My father got me a job in Neptune Worldwide Movers in New Rochelle, and back then I was doing great, but it was a muscle job. I was lifting 10 hours a day. I was making great money. I was making $4.50 an hour. Everybody else was making $1.15 minimum wage. This was back in 1967, but then one night I was out with a couple of guys, and I said, what are you doing tomorrow? We were out on a Friday night. They said, we're going to take the police test in DeWitt Clinton, which is the school I graduated. And in those years, you didn't have to file early, no registrations. It was what they called a walk-in. So I said, you know what? Knock on my door. If I get up, I'll go with you. They knocked on my door. I went with them. All 3 of us became cops. I loved the police department, and I wanted to be a motorcycle cop. But then when I got to the 4-1, which was at that time the toughest precinct in the United States, crime was rampant. I lived in the Bronx, but didn't know the violence and the drug abuse and the disregard for human life that was just a couple of miles from me. You just couldn't believe what was going on, and you thought you were in another country, but you were really a mile from your house. We had an exceptional captain, may you rest in peace, Tommy Walker. He was a hands-on captain, a real cop's cop. I will never forget him and what he let us do and encouraged us to do and backed up every guy. What I've seen him do, and you know, I was lucky enough to have him write the foreword of my book also. And he was just great, and he backed up cops, and he let you do police work.
This was the precinct that built the legend, the toughest streets in America, and Ralph Friedman owned them. But the same night his story peaked, it also came to an end.
My career ended on a second, and that was the day Pat started. It's like I handed over the baton to you.
When you got hit up on Bedford and Jerome, responding to a 1013 live of an officer in distress, and I'll never forget, you got hit outside the Rainbow Restaurant, the car spun into the pole of the Sunoco station. I remember the whole thing like it was yesterday. That was the first tour I was on a 4-12 and NSU 7. That night was my very first tour, because I just gotten out of the academy. So that night was my first and your last.
One man's career ended that night. Another's had just begun. But what Ralph Friedman did in the years before that crash, the shootings, the gun battles, the 105 arrests made off the clock, that story is still ahead.
I was out on a date and I was down in the village on my motorcycle. We pulled in near 72nd Street, and we climbed over this little fence there to a park bench, and we started sitting there making out, overlooking the water. So we were sitting there a while, and we see these couple of guys coming over. There were 3 guys, actually. And I had my Harley there. I was wearing, it was summer, so I was wearing, a t-shirt, tank top, jeans, motorcycle boots. And these guys walked over, and as they're approaching, I tell the girl I'm with, if anything happens, you just hit the floor. Because I just had a bad feeling about these guys. So the guys walked up, and they sort of circled us, and I had my hand now, because I was wearing my gun on my waist, right? And I had my hand on it, and they looked us over and stuff, and they sort of backed away and left. And I said, I'm gonna keep an eye on them. And they walked I'd say about 75 feet away from us, and I see them approach 2 or 3 people, actually it was 3, at the bottom of this ramp. And I seen them engage in some conversation, and then they left and approached 2 people about 25 feet away on the top of the ramp. So I said to the girl, I'm going over to check out what they said, because I think something's off. It didn't feel right. So I go over to them, and I identify myself as a cop. They started crying and said, we just got robbed. They had guns. They took our money. So now I start to run up the ramp towards them, screaming police. And they just left those people. And they're crossing the ramp to go over the highway towards York Avenue. And I scream at these people, I'm an officer. What'd they say? They robbed us. They robbed us. So I start screaming at them, and we're running over this ramp that's probably maybe 4 or 5 feet wide, max. It just crosses the highway. And they turn around and they start shooting at me. I start shooting at them. They don't hit me, thank God. I didn't hit them either. So it's a running gun battle. And when they get down at the bottom of the ramp on the other side, there's a car waiting for them with another guy in it, because that was going to be their quick getaway. So they got in that car, and I start chasing this car up the street. I jump into a cab, and I'm trying to say to the guy, chase that car, chase it. And he thinks I'm saying, I'm robbing you. He doesn't move, he freezes, and the car freezes, he ain't moving it, and he's throwing the cash in the backseat. He's just throwing the money at me. And I'm going, no, chase that car.
That night ended with a laugh in the back of a cab. Not every night off the clock would be that lucky.
Your partner was shot, right? Back in 7 times.
Well, he wasn't my direct partner. He was in my unit. And a call came over the air. We got there first, I guess, because we were closer. So as we were pulling up, the call sort of escalated from a burglary to what they now, in this day, they didn't have the name then, but a home invasion, because it went up to a girl screaming for help. So now that's like a home invasion because it's a burglary with someone home. So that brings it up a couple of notches. And that you can't wait for your backup. You got to go in there and save that civilian. So that's what we did, and it was on the top floor. So we worked our way up there. We had our guns drawn, and we got to the top floor, and we see the doors open 5 or 6 inches with the frame broken. So we know there's a perpetrator who broke into it. And we could hear the girl screaming. And it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we opened the door, and we proceed cautiously, and we hear her screaming. But it was pitch black when we opened, even though it was 2 in the afternoon. They had cardboard, they had drapes, they had bedspreads and sheets over the windows. It was pitch, and all of a sudden, a guy jumps out of the bedroom. He's 3 feet away from us, 3 feet, and all we see is muzzle flash. And I see my partner, we're shoulder to shoulder, and he gets hit, and I see him going down. He's firing as he's going down, and the guy is firing, and I start firing at the muzzle flash, and it was like a strobe light effect, and the bullets are ricocheting. My partner took 5 direct hits in the body, and he took 2 ricochets. I didn't get hit, but the perpetrator ran into me, and he had no shirt on, and I grabbed him by his trap with my left hand, and I had the 1 bullet left, and it was pressed against him, and I fired that round, killing him right there. Your body holds like about 6 or 7 pints of blood. He took 72 pints of blood in 3 hours. But the important thing was my partner survived. He retired, but he lived, he moved out of state and had a normal life with a bullet in him.
Cal lived, but the job wasn't finished with Ralph Friedman, not by a long shot.
I'm processing this purse snatch, grand larceny, and a CI of mine comes in.
Informant. Snitch. Mm-hmm.
A very good one, too. You know, so he comes in and he tells me, got this guy selling a gun, wants to do a gun sale. We know where he's going to buy the gun. He's supposed to be there at a certain time. It's supposed to say 5 o'clock, right? So the buildings were all connected, right? So we give him the money for the gun, and we tell him the plan is, you go up on the roof and meet the guy. We're going to go down the block, because all the roofs were connected. We'll go down a block further, and we'll go up to the roof, and we'll watch you. And when you get a hold of the gun, when he hands it to you, then we'll move in. He comes up, and now the scenario has changed. Things we didn't expect. We didn't figure. First we get up there, and there's 2 perps, right? We thought there's 1. Next thing, the gun wasn't a handgun. He's got a high-powered rifle. The guy wants to prove to him that the gun works. He leans over the roof with the rifle and starts sniping. We got an active sniper in front of us. Now we got to blow our cover. We start jumping over the roof, screaming police with our guns. He turns the gun on us and fires. We start shooting, right? He shoots at us. We shoot at him. We hit him a few times, but I empty my gun. So now I pull out a backup gun.
The Bronx reload.
The Bronx reload. The CI hits the floor, which was smart. The first perp with the rifle, he drops. We kick that away, and he's down, shot. The other perp, we don't know who he is or nothing, runs behind like a chimney, right. But it was on the roof. So now we go to get him. So I pull out the second gun, which, ironically, I just happened to buy a week before, and it was a really shitty automatic. And all of a sudden, the guy's right in front of me with a knife, and he's gonna stab me in the head. He has the knife raised above, and he's coming. I go to tighten my finger on the trigger, and I feel it tightening, but I didn't pull it yet. It was like a fraction, and I hear a shot. The sergeant went around the other side, sees he's gonna stab me, and shoots him in the back. The perp goes down with his back against the wall like this. Gun is still in the knife is in his hand, and he's laying there, and it looks like he's out of the picture. So the sergeant goes, get the rifle, go back, get the rifle. So I go to cross the guy, and the guy leaps up with the knife now. And there's no room between the roof, the end of the roof, and this thing, and the guy's right there in front of me, like a foot away. I open fire with this automatic, shoot him in the stomach, and kill him right there.
The man on the roof had a family, and 6 months later, that family came looking for Ralph.
You know, I go to the grand jury, I get justified homicide, you know, and it was my 4th one at that time. So I meet this girl in the street, you know, hot Puerto Rican girl. You know, somehow we hit it off, eye contact and stuff, and I start dating her for a while. So that night I'm supposed to meet her, I make a collar, and I call her from the precinct. I said, listen, I can't make it over, you know, I got a collar. So she says, oh, you got to come tonight. You got to be coming tonight. Come on, I counted on you. And all this shit. And I said, well, I'm really tied up. There's a lot of vouchering. There's evidence and stuff. I'll come tomorrow night. So she called a couple of times, and I said, I'm still not finished. I can't go. So the next day, I'm out on patrol with Timmy Kennedy. We get a 10-2 forthwith, which means come to the precinct. We got up to the boss's office. We see 2 suits in the office with the boss because it's a glass front. So boss comes over to Timmy and tells him, you go back out. Ralph, you just come in the office. So I sit down, and they identify themselves as a lieutenant and a detective from Intelligence Division. They're both in suits, and how could these guys know? So they said, well, I just want to let you know there were 2 or 3 guys in the closet that were going to kill you. And well, the guy you killed 6 months ago, that was her stepbrother, and she set me up to be killed.
From a bar fight on the Grand Concourse to a rooftop in the Bronx, Ralph Friedman never stopped running toward the danger. 2,000 arrests, 4 lives taken to save others, 1 partner who lived because he didn't hesitate. That's not a career, that's a legend.